Hey everybody, I'm Logan Alec. I'm a CPA. I own Choice Tax Relief, and today I'm talking about that Notice LT19 that I know some of you have been getting from the IRS. It looks like this. IRS is sending this Notice LT19 to taxpayers with a balance of $50,000 or less. You can see that this client of ours who received this notice, of course, I redacted their information on the notice. They had a balance of almost $48,000, right? So 50K or less, you may be receiving this notice from the IRS. So I'm going to basically go through this notice part by part. It's not long. It's not long at all, folks. And then I'm going to tell you what you should do if you receive this notice. Okay, so let's start with going through this notice. There's these bullet points here, right? Well, first of all, it says please act on your balance, right? We've seen this language in other notices like the LT16, right? That's also going out right now. Please act on your balance, right? What they actually mean is, hey, pay us or get into some kind of resolution with us on this debt. We are trying to collect unpaid balances from you for the tax period shown on the next page. By working with the IRS now, you can avoid enforcement action, which may include seizing assets or wages. Choosing one of the options below may stop enforcement action on your account. Well, I would sure hope that paying your balance in full would stop enforcement action on your account, wouldn't you? Jeez. So basically, where does this notice fall on the spectrum that goes from like, oh, this is just an annual reminder of your installment agreement to, hey, we're going to start taking your stuff in 30 days. This is kind of in the middle, right? You can kind of tell by the language. It's not saying, hey, we're going to start taking your stuff. This is a notice of intent to levy. It's like, please act on your balance. Please do something about this issue. If you don't, right, we can probably do some nasty stuff to you. They call that enforcement action. Take money from your bank account, garnish your wages, things like that. But look, you have some time here to get right with the IRS before they get serious about that sort of thing. So what do we have down here? We have kind of a couple options here. One is to pay your balance over time. So the IRS is basically making you an offer for an installment agreement, right? They would love for you to pay it all right now in full, right? And they like to push for that, or at least get as much as possible up front right now. But if you can't pay that in full, because people don't necessarily just have 48 grand laying around to pay the IRS, they're like, well, or you could, give us this amount every month, okay, for 72 months. And this may be a good kind of offer, right? If you think you can swing this, if this is well within your budget and this isn't going to hurt you, right? And this amount's going to be different for everybody, by the way. But I would say if you can afford it, you should probably just go that route, right? Because if you can afford to pay whatever the IRS is proposing you to pay monthly here, you're probably not going to qualify for some hardship-based resolution like an offer in compromise, right? So this is a pretty good deal. Paying the IRS $665 a month on 48 grand of tax debt. And by the way, they're not sending out these things if you owe more than 50, right? If you owe more than 50, they're not going to be throwing out kind of a starting offer like this, right? Now, what would I say if you're looking at this amount in this LT19, you can't afford it. You're like, oh gosh, no way in heck could I afford it. Well, that's when you call Choice Tax Relief, 866-8000-TAX, 866-8000-829. Talk about your options. There's some, information here about paying your debt off an installment agreement, right? Interest and penalties continue to accrue on your balance. That said, when we get our clients in installment agreements, they're usually kind of an installment agreement that will result in those future penalty accruals being cut in half. This is basically telling you that if you pay more than this, right, then you'll have to pay the IRS over a shorter period of time. That's kind of obvious. You must stay current with your payments and future filings to avoid enforcement action, right? So part of, when you enter into an installment agreement with the IRS, you're going to get this letter, and I've shown it in other videos, but one of the conditions of the installment agreement is that you remain in ongoing compliance with your taxes going forward. All right, we're going to let you pay this, balance over time here, this installment agreement. We're going to kind of cut you a break in that way. But if you file your next year's return, you can't pay the balance on it, you'll probably default your installment agreement. You'll get that CP 523. I'm going to notice about that up here, like at the top of the screen. Default your installment agreement and be back possibly in collections with the IRS. Okay, other option, pay your balance in full. Duh. Obviously, you could do that. So I'm not going to spend more time on that. Here's a link to the official IRS webpage for the LT19, irs.gov/LT19. Not really a whole lot on those web pages beyond what's in the notice itself. Here's the billing summary here, right, by year. It basically tells you the year. Okay, this is all 1040 individual income tax, the amount owed per the return. Here's the interest, penalty, and the total for the year. You add all these up, it's going to equal this. This is just a year by year breakdown. Yeah, they have some stuff here about under IRS help. You know, if you need forms or something, you can go to irs.gov/forms. They also tell you, like, look, if you really can't pay this, if you're facing financial economic hardship, the following options may be available to you. Temporarily delay collection. What is this? This is IRS currently not collectible CNC status. I made a video about this, link at the top of the screen. That's basically a temporary status whereby you don't have to pay anything to the IRS. The IRS can revisit that, though, in the future. If you start making more money or they think you start making more money, they sniff you and you smell a little bit richer, they may kick you out of CNC status and you have to prove to them why you have to remain in CNC. Sell your tax debt at a reduced amount. This is an offer in compromise. They say it right there. Offer in compromise, obviously, an agreement with the IRS to sell your tax debt for less than you owe. Not going to go in great detail about the offer in compromise here because I have made several videos about the offer in compromise program here on my channel. Link to my offer in compromise playlist at the top of the screen. All right, interest and penalties. They charge you interest and penalties. You want to know how IRS interest is calculated? Check out my video on that. Link at the top of the screen. The penalties. The two main penalties you're going to be looking at when you got the LT19. Well, there's actually only one. It's the failure to pay penalty. This is 0.5% a month or part of a month that your taxes remain unpaid. It's 0.5% on the balance that you owe. Okay, so you know that can add up, right? So you think about it. Well, what's 0.5% on 50 grand, right? That's $250 a month in penalties that's accruing. Caps out at 25% of the balance, but still, that's a pretty hefty chunk. Like I said, we could usually do something about that, at least reduce that future penalty accrual in half whenever we negotiate these installment agreements on behalf of our clients. This last bit, this is kind of some standard language we're seeing in a lot of these updated notices the IRS is sending out. Taxpayer Bill of Rights. You can go to irs.gov/taxpayer-bill-of-rights. So read about the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Basic stuff. You have the right to quality service from the IRS. You have the right to not pay any more in taxes than you are legally obligated to pay. Basic stuff like that. Taxpayer Advocate Service. So what the Taxpayer Advocate does is they're there to basically help you come to a resolution with an issue when the IRS isn't working properly, right? You submit an installment agreement request. No one knows where it is at ACS. Okay, that's when you involve TAS, right? They're not gonna necessarily go to bat for you like a CPA, EA, or attorney who's representing you would. Okay, they're just there to kind of intervene when things have kind of hit a rocky path between you and the IRS. All right, they're not gonna make an argument for you that's in opposition to what your revenue officer said or something like that. That's people get this wrong impression of what TAS is and isn't. There's low income taxpayer clinics if you don't make a lot of money who could possibly help you. The quality of service there is, it's hit or miss, let me tell you that. And then, of course, here is the payment coupon if you'd like to pay all of what you owe. This is the payoff amount if you pay by this date, right? If you don't pay it all by that date, there might be some more penalty and interest that you'd have to add on for the full payoff amount, or you can make a partial payment, right? But I would say, look, like I said, if you can't afford to just pay it in full right now and you can't really afford this monthly payment, talk to a professional before paying the IRS, right? You may qualify for one of these hardship-based things, right? CNC, OIC, a hardship-based installment agreement that will result in not all of your tax debt being paid off at the end of it. You may have options. That's all I'm saying. If you'd like to learn more about these options, I made a whole video on all the IRS tax debt relief options. Link to that video at the upper left-hand corner of your screen. There's some other video at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you owe at least $10,000 in back taxes, reach out to us at Choice Tax Relief for your free consultation. Give us a call, 866-8000-TAX, or visit us at choicetaxrelief.com. Fill out the form on the homepage. We will reach out to you. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.